My name is Karen Morales, and I'll be talking about Jacqueline Kennedy. A lot of people don't relate to Jacqueline Kennedy. She has showed the world that she's human, that she went through a lot of the struggles that not only women but people go through. Let's start off her childhood. She was born and raised in Sam Hampshire, and she had the normal, usual family, mom, a dad, and some siblings. She later grew up and she took interest in French and different languages, and she learned ballet, and she really liked these activities. And then later she grew up and her parents grew apart and they divorced. Her mom later on remarried, and Jacqueline had stepbrothers and stepsister. She went to a private school and she graduated. She went on to college in New York. She traveled to France. She went to Washington. She lived in Washington for a while. She had her first job during college, and she met John F. Kennedy on the way. And she met him, and she and him realized they have a lot in common, and they really got along. They clicked. They just really liked each other, and he wasn't a bad influence on her. He was already being a senator. He was part of the political world. She was just a journalist. She was this shy girl that she kept to herself. She was more reserved. They realized that they liked similar things. They both like reading. Later in September of 1953, they get married. And they have a great marriage. They have a great wedding. She later on had Caroline, her first daughter, her only daughter. And later on she had her second child, which is a boy, and they named him John Jr. Unfortunately, along the way of her trying to have kids, she had two miscarriages. During her last miscarriage, she was trying to recover emotionally, and she never really got too involved in the political events. She preferred to stay neutral. She decided to get out of her funk, and she went to a political event with her husband in Fort Worth, Texas. She seemed to be doing fine, but what people didn't know is that at the time she was recovering emotionally from the miscarriage she had. Later on that day, her husband, her kids, the staff for the first family, they had a second political event that day. The date was November 22nd of 1963. They took a flight on Air Force One to go to Dallas, Texas. They had a large crowd. They were welcomed into Dallas, Texas, and they loved it. They get in a car, they drive, and a few minutes later, John F. Kennedy is shot on his throat. Second shot him straight through the head. And she sees a part of his skull fly out of his head. So she jumps out of her seat and out of the car and tries to grab a piece of his skull. Secret Services respond as quickly as they can, and they push Mrs. Kennedy back into the convertible and cover her and her dead husband. Mr. Kennedy was dead. He was shot and killed on that same day. On this day, she was going through an emotional roller coaster over this miscarriage, and her husband died that same day. While Jacqueline was in the public eye, she was inspiring. She inspired a lot of women and men. She was a fashion icon. Everybody wanted to dress like her. Everybody wanted their hair like her. Everybody wanted to know the languages that she knew and that she spoke. She was such a huge inspiration, not only in the States, but all over the world. She gave an image that represented how women, especially mothers, should look and act and behave. And she was just so pure and innocent and respectful, and everyone loved that about her. She was confident. She was a strong, confident, inspiring woman. Now you ask yourself, how was she relatable? Unfortunately, she went through a hard time, especially for women, which is a miscarriage. She was a fashion icon. She was very she was so inspiring. And we all have someone or something that inspires us. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned a lot about Jacqueline Kennedy and that you understand that she is still relatable.